Hello again everybody and welcome back to Fujit's Blitz with me, Fujit. Hello. So last week we did part 1 of the Boba Fett build. This is part 2. We're going to get to this stage and that'll be it. It'll be finished. So first off we start with starting to paint the helmet and put the helmet together. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Just mix the suitable green, and what I used here, to be honest with you, I've forgotten most of the colours that I've used here, but I used Mr. Hobby, various colours. I think it was 3 different shades mixed together to sort of give this Boba Fett this strange green that he has. It's not a straightforward green, and I've already primed the helmet silver, so I'm going to chip it. Unfortunately, I didn't get any footage of me doing the chipping, but it's pretty straightforward. I just stuck MIG heavy chipping fluid all over the damn thing, double layer, and then went at it with some water, which isn't exactly the easiest thing to do because this lacquer acrylic doesn't react that well. Then we move on to the arms. Again, it's a very strange coloured green. This is just the initial base green. It gets a little bit darker after this. You do see some Boba Fett's with like a reddish armour on the arms. That's actually not the armour he has in The Empire Strikes Back. And I'm doing the Empire Strikes Back version of Boba Fett here. So it's just plaster it on, and then I chip it, put some more chipping fluid on, and then a darker green over the top of that. The paint again is very, very thin, and again I'm sorry, I've forgotten the ratios of what paint I used. It was all Mr. Hobby, various it's like greens and yellows, a bit of blue and a bit of buff to really get this strange colour green. I used the same colour on the jetpack. Again, it's just heavily thinned out, smacking the jetpack with this green just to get it nice and even. Again, it goes a little bit darker later, and as you can see, I've already pre-silvered the jetpack so I can chip it at a later date. And again, it's also had the chipping fluid. With the helmet now painted, it's just a question of putting it together, and I love these Bandai models. They just snap fit. I then have to do the gold, and this is just Bandai, not Bandai, Mr. Colour standard gold. It's a great colour actually. You have to thin it quite a lot, but it's a beautiful colour once it's down. That's the helmet done. I haven't put the visor in yet, the little black thing. That will be done last, along with the decals. Obviously, I haven't put the decals on either. Now I'm going to move on to the arms. Okay, the Bandai figures do come with transfers and or stickers, but I hand painted everything. I didn't bother using the stickers or the decals. Easier to hand paint. I'll then move on to his, well, what are they called? Tassels. And what I'm going to do here, I primarily paint them in a very dark brown. In fact, it's a Vallejo colour, and it's called German Dark Camouflage. And then what I'm going to do after that is just wash after wash after wash to give it its proper colour. And what the wash is, it's just, here I am here, just a very, very, very heavily thinned, almost water filter, basically. And it's pretty much like what I did with the leather. It's just building the colours up over time, and it does take a little bit of time, to be honest with you, but the results are spectacular once it's done properly. And as I said, it's incredibly thin paint. Whilst all that was drying, I needed to pose the figure and then try and get rid of some of these horrible gaps. It is a toy after all, and is meant to be movable like an action figure. So I just grabbed some green stuff. This stuff is from AK, and filled those in, and then I'm going to shape them, mold them, and make them sort of look like it's part of his trousers. I was going to do the arms as well, but I gave up on that idea because I needed it was very difficult for me to sculpt it properly, to be honest with you, and then go back and do everything with the pose I wanted. I wanted a pose that he has in The Empire Strikes Back. So if you look at either when he is sat there or stood there on the bridge of the Super Star Destroyer with all the other bounty hunters, he's holding his gun quite high, or after he's spoken to Darth Vader at Bespin, when Han Solo is being tortured, he sort of storms off and again his gun is out quite high. That was the pose I wanted, and it was very difficult for me to sculpt it. Next up, I'm going to use some VMS clear. I mean, this is brilliant stuff. You just plonk it in and spray it. Just coat everything in the clear. That's just going to give me a base, not for the decals. The decals are already on. It's just going to give me a base to do the additional weathering. Now, the thing is, he's a big figure. I mean, he's 1/12. He doesn't need a lot of weathering. He's already been weathered, what with the chipping, etc., etc. And I'm not going to go in there like you would do with a miniature figure, you know, 1/35 scale, go in and start sort of pulling out the lines here, there, and everywhere. Because he's so big, the light falls naturally. You don't really have to go in and do a lot. You don't have to emphasize everything. So all I'm doing here is just blasting everything with the VMS clear. This is the gloss clear. I am going to use oil paints, and what I'm going to do here with this cloak, I'm just going to, if you have a look at the movie stills, the bottom of the cloak is incredibly dirty, so we're going to do that. The jetpack has also got some grime and dust and all, everything over it. So that's what I'm doing here. I've just put some oil paint on. This is Starship filth from MIG's oil brusher. And it's the same here. I'm just going in and just subtly putting in the oil and then blending it with a good dab of white spirit. I'm using artist white spirit actually. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm not going to pick up all his creases because, as I said, he's such a big figure. The light does fall naturally. If he was a smaller figure, it would require a lot more attention, a lot more detail. But he's not. He's really quite big. So that's why I'm not going to go that route here. I'm going to leave as much as it can be natural. Because if you look at your clothes naturally, you don't have these massive dark and light contrasts. What I'm going to do here with the cloak is just oil dots. And it's Starship filth, dark brown and dust. And all I'm going to do is then blend it in. Excuse my big hand. But you can see the effect I'm going for here. The bottom of the cloak is incredibly dirty if you look at the film stills. I really wanted to get some kind of fabric because the cloak is a bit of plastic and it doesn't look overly realistic. But where I'm sat, unfortunately, here in Dubai, it's pretty difficult to get hold of sort of those materials. So I had to make do with what the model kit provided. I tried to get it as close as possible to what I saw in the movie. And as you can see, just buffing away with the oil paints here, blending it in, getting that dirty sort of dusty bottom half of the cloak, which is what I saw in the movie. And that's all I'm trying to achieve. The only effect I'm trying to achieve, again, I'm not going to go in there and do a wash and pin washes and stuff like that because it's a big figure and I want the light to dry, to fall on it naturally, basically. That's all I'm doing. I'm just going to keep blending away until I get the effect that I want. So a little bit more white spirit on there. Get it down, get rid of those lines, get it blended in so it looks more natural. Then I'm going to put some oil brusher dust on his shoes because they're just too bright. And again, I'm just going to dab a little bit of white spirit on the brush. Not much, hardly anything. And then just blend it in. You can see I haven't put any oils or anything on the overall torso, and the light really does naturally fall, and it's fantastic in that respect. Then I'm going to put a little bit of Starship filth in dark brown on the bottom of his trousers, just to emphasize that he's a bit dirty. Because again, if you look at the movie, he has got a bit of dirt. Again, this is just oil paint from the oil brusher range of MIG. And I'm just going to blend it all in. Basically, it's just going to be a subtle showing of dirt, nothing more than that. It's not going to be overemphasized. I'm not going for a dirty look here. If you look at the Star Wars characters, hardly any of them are like really dirty. So that's the sort of look I'm trying to achieve. And we get there in the end. It's subtle, as you can see on the leg that I've already done. I'm working on the second leg now, so it's only subtle. It's just a bit of dirt and dust. And this really is the last part. There's a few other bits and bobs I do just to highlight touches, but let's have a look at the final reveal. How does the Boba Fett from Bandai turn out? Well, I think this is a spectacular little model, especially considering it's meant to be a toy. I mean, you really can pull together a fantastic looking Boba Fett. I, as said, went for the Empire Strikes Back version of Boba Fett. He is a little bit different. There's a few subtle differences, not much, And that's what I was going for. And I was going for this look where either A, he was on the Super Star Destroyer holding his gun high, or at Bespin. And I think I've achieved that look. I mean, he's a great figure to paint, pretty straightforward to put together. And, you know, I'm pretty happy with the fact that I think he's now finished. It's done. It's over with. I don't think there's much more I can do with this figure. To do any more, I think, would be a ruin. So that's my Bandai Boba Fett. I absolutely loved making this figure. It made a change. I normally make armor models. And I've just got into this Bandai Star Wars stuff. I'm a big fan of Star Wars anyway. And I've been really enjoying it. But I will be going back to the armor models shortly. So, love to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think? And do you think the Boba Fett looks good? Has he come out nicely? I'd love to hear your comments down below and your thoughts. By all means, tell me, you know, where it should be improved, where I can improve, what I could have done differently or better. And I'll leave you with some stills after the camera goes a bit weird there. I'll leave you some stills after this. But enjoy my Boba Fett. I enjoyed pulling it together. And as I said, you know, if you've got any hints or tips, or if you think there are ways that I could improve, or there are things that I could have done better, by all means, let me know in the comments, because I'm always open to learning how to improve my models, to be honest with you. I'm certainly not one of the best model makers out there. I'm growing in confidence, and I'm slowly feeling that I'm getting better at putting certain models together, and my painting is getting better, and my use of the airbrush is getting better. But as I said, I'm by no means the best model maker out there. But I've been enjoying building these Bandai kits. It makes, as I said, a nice little change from the usual armor that I do. And hopefully, the more I do of these, the better I will get at the camera work, etc, etc, because I'm not that great on that. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with some stills of my Bandai 1/12 Boba Fett. Hopefully, I will see you again soon. I have got a Millennium Falcon to build, the Bandai one, the perfect grade with all the lighting kit. So that may be my next video. So stay tuned. Hopefully, you will see me build that. Until the next time, stay safe out there, and bye for now.